the way to Saar River is covered with basalt, volcanic rock. When it gets to Saar River or Nahal Saar, it stops being basalt. It is because it gets to Mount Hermon. And Mount Hermon is made out of limestone. And not any limestone, but Jurassic limestone. Jurassic limestone is a very ancient layer. The ancient layers, tectonic movements brings ancient layers up to the top. That's what happened here in Mount Hermon. Two places with Jurassic limestone in Israel, Mount Hermon and Maktesh Ramon in the south. So ancient layers brought up to the top. Now who cares if it's Jurassic or not? But well, actually it's very important because Jurassic limestone is typified with cracks, sinkholes on the mountain. About 3 or 4 months a year, the snow covers Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is the highest peak in Israel. We're at the foot of Mount Hermon. So the snow covers Mount Hermon. Most of the snow that falls on Mount Hermon does not flow away. Most of it melts, it gets sinkholes, it gets into the mountain, straight into the mountain, sinkholes, where it comes out from. 3 places. The river of Dan, Banias, this is called the river of Banias, and Hatzbani, which comes from Lebanon. These 3 rivers are the main sources for the Jordan. One comes from Lebanon, Banias, we're in, should be Syria, and then comes from Israel. So the 3 rivers meet up in the north, forming the Jordan River. And the Jordan River flows into the Sea of Galilee from the northern side. It flows out from the Sea of Galilee from the southern side until it flows, or it keeps going down until it gets into the Dead Sea. So this is the main, the river Dan is the main source of the Jordan River. By the way, why the kingdom of Jordan is called Jordan? Do you know? Why it is called Jordan, or why it is called Jordan River? In Hebrew, it's Yarden. In English, it's Jordan. In Hebrew, Yarden means Dan descends, goes down. Dan is the main source of the Jordan River. And that's why it is called Jordan. Did you get that? We're in Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea Philippi. Who's Philip? One of the sons of King Herod the Great. Earlier, we mentioned Herod Antipas, who built the city of Tiberias. Another son, his name is Herod Philip. All the sons of King Herod were called Herod. Herod Antipas, Herod Philip, and Herod Archelaus. After the death of King Herod the Great, the country was divided among his 3 sons. Philip took the golden. King Herod built this city, Herod the Great, and he called it Caesarea in honor of the Caesar. And this was the case for other cities in this country. That means this is called Caesarea Philippi. We'll be going to another Caesarea, which is Caesarea by the sea. You see it up here. So Caesarea, we're in the territory of Philip. And Matthew 16. Jesus came with the disciples, brought the disciples to Caesarea in the territory of Philip. When he asked the disciples, who do the people think that I am? And the people started to say, or the disciples said that the people say that you are Jeremiah or Elijah or one of the prophets. But who do you think that the Son of Man is? And Jesus or Simon Peter answered, you are the Son of the living God, the Christ. And Jesus said to Simon Peter, he called him, you are Peter, blessed are you Simon Bar Jonah. What was the name? What does Bar mean? Son. But what was the name of Simon Peter's father? Jonah. Well, there are 3 other places in the Bible, and his father was called John and not Jonah. Now in English, it seems similar. Jonah and John. But in Aramaic or in Hebrew, it's known as and Hanan. It's completely different. Why did he call him Simon Bar Jonah? So he called him, blessed are you Simon Bar Jonah. You are Peter, you are Petros, you are the rock, and upon this rock I will build my church. Whatever you bind on, I'll give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. So this is the place. Why do you think Jesus brought the disciples here to tell them that? Why so far? It's too far from the Galilee. We drove about 1 hour from the Sea of Galilea. Well, this was the center of the pagans in antiquity, in this country. Pagan temples were built, we're gonna see it later on. Pagan temples were built on a rock over there, a huge rock. But before King Herod and before Jesus, the Greeks came to the Holy Land. They came in the 3rd century BC and they stayed until the 1st century BC. The Greeks called this place Banias and not Banias, with P, after God Pan, God of shepherds and sheep. And according to the Greek mythology, when the ladies used to bathe, to swim in the water, used to go into the water, God Pan used to surprise them, and the ladies used to panic. So the word panic came from here, from God's plan, according to the Greek mythology. 3 main sources to the Jordan River. Dan, remember this? Dan, Banias, and Hudson. We in Caesarea and the territory of Philip, and this was the center for the pagans in this country. If you want, yes.
Arnold's going to speak for us just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Am I ready?
Before we continue,
Lots more was going off, but it sounds like it didn't. Right. Clear it all up, clean it up, and then hopefully.
That's a good idea. I did that when I met her.
Okay, thank you all for this opportunity. This is just a real pleasure to be able to do this, and particularly as he shared with the history of what took place. I would like to read, well, before I read, I would like to thank Dr. Lucas for giving me this opportunity. For me, it's just an awesome experience. I would like to read again from Matthew 16, verses 13 through 16. Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he was asking his disciples, who do people say that the Son of Man is? And they said, some said, well, John the Baptist. Some said Elijah, and perhaps even Jeremiah, or even one of the prophets of old. But he said to them, who do you say that I am? And Peter, being Peter, he stepped forward and said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. But in that dialogue, perhaps it was that one word that he spoke, but, that really captivated the attention of people. And in that dialogue, it became very personal. And so the question was, is who do people say that I am? But who do you say that I am? Well, let's ask some people who they say Jesus is. Let's ask Nicodemus. We all know the story of Nicodemus. In John chapter 3, verse 5, Nicodemus says, how is it that God is with you? Jesus answered, truly true. I say to you that unless one is born of the water and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. And so who was Jesus to Nicodemus? To Nicodemus, Jesus became his understanding. Well, let's ask the man that was born blind in John chapter 9. But in verse 25, this man said, well, whether he is a sinner, I do not know. But one thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see. This kind of makes you want to sing the song Amazing Grace, doesn't it? Yes. So who was Jesus to this man? Jesus became his very eyes. Well, let's ask the paralytic who Jesus was to him. In Mark 2, verse 11, Jesus says, your sins are forgiven. I say to you, get up, pick up your pallet, and go home. So who was Jesus to the paralytic? Jesus was his feet. Well, let's ask Mary Magdalene who Jesus was to her. In Luke chapter 8,
temples were built right over here. A temple was built dedicated to my right hand side. Can you see the ruins over there? This temple was dedicated to Caesar. We said that Pharaoh Philip built this city and called it Caesarea in honor of the Caesar. And many pagan temples were built right over here. Many people would say that, or pagans in antiquity would say that this was the gate of Hades, hell. And you can see ruins of an ancient pagan temples. Later on, many churches were built here by the Byzantines.